Well, good afternoon. We're going to kick things off here and start our webinar today on the future of e-commerce and why structured data is key. I'm Chris Dawson from Tamebay, and I'm joined by David Smith of GS1. Good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon, Chris. Happy to be here today.
Brilliant. So let's get going. First of all, tell us a bit about GS1 and what you guys actually do.
Okay, so GS1 is a global organisation. And as you can see here, we believe in the power of standards to transform the way that we work and live. And basically, GS1 is a membership organisation. We're neutral, not-for-profit, user-driven and governed, and we work both globally and locally. So you may know us more for managing and maintaining the barcode standard. So the barcodes on the products, that's what we look after all around the world.
I think that's important because that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is what's behind that barcode. So first thing I'd like to say to the people listening is welcome to the webinar. If you do have any questions, please do feel free to type them in, and we'll be keeping an eye out for those questions and answering them as we go through today. So you're a global organisation now, David, and I know you've just taken on a new role. What sort of people do you work with? Who does GS1 actually work with?
Okay, so we have over 1 million businesses that are members of GS1 around the world. We have 112 what we call member organisations. So, you know, there will be a GS1 UK, for example, or a GS1 France, and there's 112 of those operating in 150 countries that are looking after businesses from the likes of Coca-Cola to John Lewis to people like Macy's or Tesco.
What about Tamebay readers? Because we know that people like Tesco's and John Lewis read Tamebay, but what about the small eBay? So it might be just one person working from home importing some products from China or even making their own products. Should they be talking to GS1?
Well, very much so. I mean, what we've been seeing over the last 5 years is the number of small businesses that are looking to trade online, particularly those that are looking to trade on marketplaces. And I know we'll be talking about this a little bit later, but with the likes of eBay and Amazon and other marketplaces like this around the world, more and more of them are asking for product identifiers. And it's the product identifier that is sitting within the barcode that makes the GS1 system work.
So as far as marketplaces goes, this is a relatively new area for you then, by the sound of things.
Certainly, we've seen the growth has really been in the last sort of 5 years, and yeah, we've been traditionally in the supply chain and very much in the area of the manufacturer or the brand, all the way up into the retailers' stores. But more and more now, we've got people, because of the way in which e-commerce is changing the way in which we shop. This is becoming more prevalent in terms of how GS1 standards are used from a consumer point of view.
And talking about changing, that's some of the things we're going to look at today is what's happened in the past, and I think it's important to look at the past to see where we are now and what buyers are looking for, how buyers are shopping, and then look at what the future is going to look like. What's e-commerce going to look like in 4 or 5 years' time, and how does the structured data fit into that? So let's kick off. I don't know if too many of our readers will have seen these logos before, but believe it or not, this is the original eBay logo and the original Amazon logo. And this is back from the late 1990s, and things have changed enormously. I mean, this is actually eBay's first website. If you notice, it's actually called Auction Web, but down at the bottom it says, "Welcome to eBay's Auction Web." This was what eBay looked like back in the 1990s. And Amazon didn't look much better either. This is what a website looked like back then. And I mean, can you imagine actually going to a website like that and actually buying something on it?
Well, I do remember buying stuff on the web back in the late 90s, probably early 2000s. Late 90s was the first time I got involved personally in launching websites, and yeah, we've moved on a long way since those two.
Yeah, and it's amazing to think how much both eBay and Amazon have grown to be a part of everyone's lives nowadays. And this was really back in the days of the desktops, and I think anyone that had an early computer, whether it be an Apple or a Windows machine, Windows 3.11 with an IP stack, and you had to buy your own Ethernet card for your computer, would have had something looking like this on the desk. And still we have desktops, but back then they were really slow to boot. They took forever to start up, and you were tied to your desk. And then people started promising what the future would look like, and they sold us laptops. And they said, with this laptop, you're going to be able to go away from your desk to work. You'll be able to work on the go. You'll be able to take your work home with you. You'll be able to work on the train or the bus. And they lied. I mean, frankly, the battery life, even on laptops today, I don't know anyone that works in an office with a laptop that doesn't constantly have their laptop plugged in. Even nowadays, they only work 3 or 4 hours maybe before the battery dies. In those days, you're lucky to get half an hour out of them. So they weren't always on devices. But more than that, we didn't have Wi-Fi back then. There certainly wasn't any 3G, 4G or anything. When you left the office, you weren't connected to the internet anymore. So pretty much, although you had this promise of working, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to think that smartphones are only about a decade old. The first iPhones only come out in like 2006, 2007. And the smartphone, I mean, you know me, David, I've always Android, but you've got to admit the smartphones, it was the Apple iPhone which really revolutionized the smartphone and started driving it forward. But that was less than a decade ago that we've been actually able to do things, just basic stuff like checking our email on the go. And yeah, before the iPhones, I don't know about you, but I had the little the HP iPad thingers that I could get my email on, but they were a bit unreliable and a bit slow.
Yeah, I was always a big Nokia fan, but as you're right, saying it was the iPhone that really transformed the way, well, certainly a way in which consumers started to engage with retailers, and that I think has been the big change that we've seen certainly in the last sort of 5 to 10 years.
And it's hard to believe that tablets are only about 5 years old.
Yeah.
We all look at smartphones now and tablets and think, yeah, we're mobile, we can get our email, we can do shopping anywhere. But it really is only a couple of years, literally less than a decade, that people have been able to do this. And you and I are a little bit older than a lot of our readers, David. I'm thinking there's probably some of our readers that can't remember a time when smartphones didn't exist from in their adult life. But then I know we've also got Tamebay readers who are a little bit older. Some of them are actually retired and now running online businesses to support their retirement. And they definitely remember a time when we didn't even have desktop computers. And really the pace of change has just accelerated so much. From late 80s, early 90s, we started having computers for the first time. Before that, the best you get is a scientific calculator. And then we got laptops, and then we got smartphones, and then we got tablets. And everything's been 10 years until suddenly we got smartphones, and then tablets came along 5 years later. And what's going to happen in the future? What are we going to be looking at then? Today, it is about mobile. And in the UK, 2/3 of all shopping visits are done on mobile devices. So when we look at people's eBay listings, we say, well, you really need a mobile-friendly listing. 2/3 of the people that are going to be looking at that listing are going to be using either a smartphone or a tablet.
Yeah.
And the same with a website. So we've got to get smarter about looking at mobile. And buyers are wanting more. They're starting to make more and more demands, whether it be for convenient delivery on returns, or whether it be they want free carriage, or whether they want a bigger range of products, or whether they want your website to be viewable on a mobile device. They're looking for more and more on the service side. Obviously, price and availability is key. But more shoppers now than ever before want to compare prices. And I guess this is where the barcode comes in, that you might be in a physical store and you scan a barcode to compare the price online.
Yeah, we've certainly seen a lot more of the in-store barcode scanning happening. And I know a lot of retailers, they do feel uncomfortable about that. But the issue is that, more and more now from a retailing point of view, we've got to think about the consumer, and how are we helping that kind of consumer need? And I've come across a few retailers that actually really push the Wi-Fi use within their store, and they're quite happy for customers to come in, compare prices, and find out more about the product, because the other side of it is you don't always find the person within the store to be able to help you with that purchasing decision. So if you can pull information down off the web about it, so much the better.
And I guess for those that are doing what I think we call it showrooming, if I'm online only, then having that barcode on my products is key, so that when they search the web, if mine's the best price and availability, they actually find it.
Then they can find it, yeah.
And service, as I said, is absolutely key. People expect to be able to email you, they expect to find your phone number on the website, and if they want to ring you, they expect you to respond in a timely manner. We all know these things. It's just basic customer service, the same as in a shop. But delivery is key nowadays. And I think if you look at sites like Amazon and the amount of delivery options they offer you, I mean, with Amazon, I can have it tomorrow with Amazon Prime, or I can pay for next day. I can have Super Saver delivery where it's a bit slower. I can have next day delivery, or the standard delivery. And next day, I can choose whether to have it next day to an Amazon locker, say, or a shop where I collect, or it could be next day before 1 o'clock with one of my special delivery.
Yeah.
Buyers are looking for these choices. Sometimes it's more convenient to click and collect type service, other times to have it delivered to home.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've seen is that the kind of pace of change that are introduced by the likes of Amazon, for example, as you were just mentioning there, has actually made the actual delivery services, people like Royal Mail or DHL, DPD, etc., they've all had to up their game in order to kind of keep competitive with the level of service that, A, the consumer is demanding, but also what the consumer is getting from the likes of people like Amazon, for example. So, there's a lot of benefit in that. And once you then start aligning that into, can I get the product back to you and return it, and, all of these things. And again, from a GS1 point of view, this is an area where you need to identify the product within that supply chain, because the supply chain isn't just from the manufacturer into the warehouse or the store. We're actually looking to how do we identify that product on its way to the consumer, or if the consumer needs to return it as well. And this is another one of these benefits that sits behind a rough identifier.
Yeah, and I think returns, as you say, people are looking for the ability to try products on at home and return them if needed. But I think overall what people are really looking for is convenience. They just want to shop in the way they want at the time they want, whether that be in a high street and compare prices online, whether it be online and maybe go and pick up in store, whether it's home delivery or collection, whether they want to return products. It all comes down to that convenience. And that's really takes us starting to look at the future of where buyers shop. And currently, as we said, 2/3 of people are shopping on your mobile. And if you look at mobile, people are either shopping with Google, because everyone's got Google on their mobile, or another search engine, or maybe something like Apple Siri. But generally, people are just going to Google and starting a shopping search. And the other alternative is they'll have one of the two major apps, either the eBay app or the Amazon app, or both, on their mobile phone. And that's where they'll search. I saw some stat today from Scott Wingo that said 60% of millennials, I think it was 61%, start their search on Amazon.
That's an amazing figure. It's an amazing figure. And we've got some figures coming up later about, where people shop on Google and where that shopping journey starts as well. So, I mean, you're looking here at, certainly two of the biggest players, Google and Amazon, in terms of where people begin shopping anyway. And then obviously, you have eBay sitting in there as well.
And I think if you're starting your search on eBay or Amazon or Google, it's really hard for small retailers to then compete against those three, because how am I going to get you to install my mobile app on the phone? And the chances are that I'm not, to be honest.
Yeah.
But eBay is massive. They've got 160 million buyers around the world. We all know the stats. They've got the click and collect service, which helps with convenience. Amazon are the same. They've got an absolute ton of customers. And this really is, especially with Amazon Prime Day yesterday, I bet there was a lot of people shopping on Amazon and spilling over onto other sites. this is where customers are. And also, these marketplaces can give us an awful lot of help with actually doing the delivery side of it, or with the customer service side. All our messages are going to be held in eBay and Amazon. We've got those sites behind us. And they're really good at making sure that the site looks good, all the product data, the convenience of delivery with Amazon Prime. So make use of those services where we can. And then we get to the important stuff, which is yesterday was Amazon Prime Day.
Yeah.
And customers are looking for the Amazon Prime logo. They're looking for fast and free delivery and that boost to win the buy box. And you can only get that by putting your products into Amazon FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon, have them in the Amazon warehouse. And basically make delivery Amazon's problem. And that comes down nicely to while we're talking about Amazon. I don't know about you, David, one of my favourite programmes on TV was always Top Gear. And we all know that Chris Evans has got Top Gear now and he's left.
Yeah.
But the original guys are going on to Amazon. And the reason Amazon are getting into video is actually all about the shopping. But they're giving you, they want you to sign up for Amazon Prime, and things like the Grand Tour, it's going to be called, with Clarkson, Hammond and May, are to hook you into signing up for Amazon Prime, or when you've signed up for a trial, to make you think, actually, I want to keep it because now I've got that.
Yeah.
But it's about the delivery, free video, music sharing, photos and everything else is tying you into Prime. But Amazon are now looking towards the future and what's going to come next. And that is screenless devices. We've all seen the side of wearable devices. We see people with the sort of Apple watches, or there's Android watches that people are wearing. There's things like the Fitbit that'll tell you what your heart rate was and how much exercise you did and did you have a good night's sleep. But there's going to be devices like Amazon Echo. Amazon have sold over 3 million of these in the States. It's not even available outside the States yet. But let's just take a look at what Amazon Echo does.
When it first arrived from Amazon, I didn't know what it was. What is it?
You'll see.
Is it for me?
It's for everyone. It's called Amazon Echo.
How's it going?
I'm just finishing up right now.
Is it on?
Oh, it's always on.
Can it hear me right now?
Nope.
It only hears you when you use the wake word we chose.
Alexa.
Well, what does it do?
Alexa, what do you do?
I can play music, answer questions, get the news and weather, create to-do lists, and much more.
Awesome. Alexa, play rock music.
Rock music.
Alexa, stop.
Wait, I want to try. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 3:27.
You actually don't have to yell at it, okay? It uses far-field technology, so it can hear you from anywhere in the room.
So it can just hear you anywhere?
Yes. Well, everyone can hear you anyway.
Oh, is that where we're going to put it?
I was thinking of putting it there, but it works anywhere.
Echo is pretty neat because it knows all sorts of things.
It's on
All you have to do is ask.
Alexa, how tall is Mount Everest?
Mount Everest's height is 29,029 feet, 8,848 meters.
How can it know so much? It's so small.
It updates using the cloud. That's also how it gets its answers.
Just read that off the box, huh?
Dad really likes that Echo just plugs in, so we never have to charge it. Plus, Echo's really good at keeping track of things like shopping and to-do lists.
Paper. Alexa, add wrapping paper to the shopping list.
I've put wrapping paper on your shopping list.
Alexa, how many teaspoons are in a tablespoon?
1 tablespoon equals 3 teaspoons.
Okay. Alexa, set a timer for 8 minutes.
8 minutes starting now.
Dad's not a morning person, but Echo definitely helps him wake up.
Alexa, alarm off.
You gotta get up.
It's Saturday.
Alexa, what day is it?
Today is Thursday, November 13th.
I'm up. Alexa, give me my flash news briefing.
Here's your flash briefing.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Singh.
Mom, what did the dog say after a long day of work?
What?
Today was rough. Get it? Get it?
Yeah, I get
it. Another one.
Alexa, tell me another joke.
I wondered why the baseball was getting bigger, and then it hit me.
Sometimes Echo helps out when you least expect it.
Hey, Dad, how do you spell cantaloupe?
Cantaloupe. C-A-N... Alexa, how do you spell cantaloupe?
Cantaloupe is spelled C-A-N-T-A-L-O-U-P-E.
Good job.
Echo loves to play music and knows a lot of songs, and they always sound great.
Alexa, play my dance mix.
The playlist dance.
Alexa, stop.
Alexa, define annoying.
The term annoying means one, causing irritation or annoyance.
Example, my brother.
And with the companion app, you can access Echo from anywhere. With everything Echo can do, it's really become part of the family.
To experience Echo, go to amazon.com/echo.
So what Alexa actually does, it's a device which sits in your home and it's always listening. And you can say to Alexa, Alexa, what time is it? And she'll tell you the time. Or you can say, what's the weather going to be like today? Or what's the traffic like on my route to work? And Alexa will respond and look it up on Google and get a Google map of your way to work and tell you what's happening. It'll also look at things like you may be doing the cooking and you run out of sugar, so you can say, Alexa, add sugar to my shopping list. Or it may be you suddenly realise it's your friend's, your daughter's friend's got a birthday tomorrow and you need a present. And you say, what should we buy your friend? And your daughter says, oh, let's get her the latest Star Wars Lego. So you say, Alexa, put Star Wars Lego on my shopping list. And you can actually now with Alexa actually go and buy things on Amazon using Alexa. So you can say, Alexa, buy the Star Wars Lego and ship it to me for tomorrow. And Alexa will do that. And this is just Amazon's solution. And a while back, I did a similar presentation. I was saying, what about Google, Microsoft, what about eBay? What are these guys going to do? And Google have also got a similar device which they're going to be bringing out, which is called Google Home. And again, it's something that is always going to be listening. And you may have kind of seen this on your mobile phone if you've got an Android, because if you say to your smartphone, OK, Google, your smartphone will wake up and be listening for you to say, oh, can you give me directions to here? Or what's the weather like here? Or can you send a text message to here? And Google Home is going to be the same. So people are going to be buying things using Google Home. And you notice, again, it hasn't got a screen. It's just something sat there listening. And Microsoft apparently have got something called Bing Concierge. We know very little about it, apart from an advert was spotted for someone to work in the Bing Concierge bot team. So it's again, it's an agent, a box that sits there listening, but instead of using Google, instead of using Amazon, this one's Microsoft's device. You've got to ask about what eBay and Amazon are going to do here. Amazon have got their device, but eBay have typically not manufactured their own devices. They typically partner with others. So they were practically the first iPhone app or the first mobile app for Android. And eBay's mobile app has had more downloads than any other app in all time ever since smartphones existed. So I'm pretty sure that eBay will partner with maybe Google, maybe Microsoft or someone else on these devices. And Amazon are looking at theirs. Apple are typically a company which Apple didn't invent the smartphone and they didn't invent the tablet. They just made a really good smartphone and called it an iPhone. And then they waited till people invented tablets and went away and made a really good tablet and called it an iPad. And that's what Apple do. So I don't think they'll be the first out. Well, we've already seen Amazon and Google out first with their devices, but I bet Apple bring out a device like this with an uprated Siri at some time. They've got things like Apple TV. They'll have a device sat in your home that's always listening to be your servant sooner or later.
Yeah. I think your point about eBay is very interesting because the way in which eBay have become proliferated, you said, with apps across different mobile devices, you can see them having that kind of relationship with Google, and getting straight into eBay by going through Hey Google.
And that's where we come back to marketplaces and search engines, because they need to identify your product. Now, in the past, it's been really easy for me to go shopping on, say, eBay, because I go onto eBay and I type in the name of what I'm looking for, and it shows me a listing with a picture, with a description, and I can see it on my screen. I can instantly see, have I just searched to buy an iPhone, or am I looking at an iPhone case, in which case it's not quite the product I wanted?
Yeah.
Have I searched for a lawnmower, or am I seeing a lawnmower blade? But when we're buying on a screenless device, that's going to be a lot more difficult. So search is going to become more and more important. So can you tell us a bit, David, about how we're going to actually identify products on screenless devices where we can't even see them?
Well, you're looking at some stats here, which you know, as we know, there's a huge amount of products that now are available online, and we know as well that, you know, upwards of 70% of all sales are influenced by that information that you can find on the web. And, you know, again, just showing the power of Google at the moment, you know, 80% of all online sales start with a Google search. However, the way in which we find these products is also changing, and we've spoken, you know, now about Siri and Echo, etc. The way in which we're conducting ourselves with these search engines is changing quite remarkably, and it's becoming more conversational, and we're moving from searching keywords to concepts.
What you're saying there is exactly with the Amazon Echo. You're talking to a box and you're saying, Google, go and find me this, or Amazon, I want this, rather than typing in a keyword.
Which sounds fantastic. Obviously, to somebody of my advancing years, sounds very futuristic. But the interesting thing is what's sitting behind that, the algorithms, the way in which they're actually going out and finding those products. That's where the secret sauce comes in. That's where, you know, we have to understand what is it that product represents. And that's all very well from a human's point of view, because, you know, you and I can go and pick something up, see it, or we can infer and we can understand exactly what the meaning is because we're humans. But when you're talking about machines, it's a whole different ball game. And what we're looking at here is something around structured data.
So structured data, I'm really interested in this, because I know Amazon have got really good structured data because they got their ASIN, and you list against a standard Amazon standard identification number.
Yep.
And I know yours are GTINs, which is, what's GTIN?
So the GTIN is the global trade item number. So people will you'll be familiar with an EAN or a UPC.
And what's an EAN?
So an EAN is just basically what the name of the barcode is.
So that's the European standard.
It's the European article number, and the UPC is the unique product code, which tends to get more used in America. But the most important thing,
they get linked on Amazon to an ASIN. And we've all heard...
Well, the barcode itself doesn't. It's the product identifier. It's the number that when you look at a barcode, there's a 13-digit number that sits below the barcode. That is the global trade item number.
And eBay are asking us to add these numbers now as well, the GTINs.
Yeah.
So what's happening with my website, though?
So what's happening on the website, and will be happening on other websites, is that there's a new standard that GS1 has launched, and it's called GS1 Smart Search. And the whole idea of it is that we are providing a structured data format that machines can understand. So when a machine is speaking to a machine, the machines are speaking a common language that they can understand, identify what that product is, and bring that product back to the consumer. Now, GS1 have been working over the last 3 years with schema.org, and I'm sure the majority of our listeners are familiar with schema.org. But schema.org is an organization. They're part of W3C, and they work very closely with other search engines like Yandex and Bing and Google, etc. And they had a vocabulary that was constructed for helping consumers from a point of view of when they were searching on a search engine. GS1's vocabulary is very, very deep and very, very explicit about the type of product, and being very a lot more detail about what that product is and all the different attributes to that product, all linked by that GTIN, that global trade item number. And the GS1 vocabulary system is the first system to be endorsed by Schema, and now we're linking the two together. So the schema.org system and the GS1 system are now linked, so that when a consumer, whether they either type the information in or speak the information in, a machine is able to understand exactly what that product is. And they can go off and find that on a website. If the website has got that product contained within its structured data within its product pages, and bring that back to the search engine and ultimately to the consumer. So that we won't have any of this search engine trying to think, well, is that what they mean? Is that the size they're talking about? I mean, the really quick and easy way of explaining this around structured data is if I was looking for a washing machine, for example. So the computers know, they understand, I put into the search engine that I want a washing machine, and it'll go away and it'll bring back a whole list of washing machines. But if I actually asked, I want a washing machine that has a spin speed of 800, the poor old search engine has difficulty understanding, well, I understand washing machine, I understand 800, but do I really understand spin speed? And do I understand that spin speed is linked to the 800 and is now linked to the washing machine?
And I guess this is going to get even more, because the first thing you said then is you're going to do your search and it's going to bring back a list of stuff. But if I'm buying on a screenless device, I don't want it to read out a whole list of stuff. I want it to tell me
exactly
the closest product it can.
And the whole beauty about the using structured data and using the GS1 standard is that it's all about accuracy and relevancy linked to that search, which, as you know, the search engines, that's what they want to do. It's not about bringing you an endless list of products that linked to that initial search. They want to bring you the actual accurate and relevant product to your search inquiry. And as we go on in time, as we become more used to searching, as you say, Chris, we'll be saying things like, show me a Bosch 800 spin speed washing machine with, and our search terms will be getting longer and longer and longer as we become more and more conversational.
And that structured data behind the GTIN is how websites are going to be able to display the information to Google or Bing, or whether it be on Amazon or perhaps eBay in the future.
Yeah,
that's what we'll be looking at.
Yeah.
And as we get to, it's already a pain, to be honest, with smaller mobile screens when we're buying. Sometimes I just get my laptop out to buy something, but if we've got a screenless device, it's really got to be pretty accurate and know that it is what we're looking for before it ships me that product. Otherwise, it's just going to be a return.
Yeah, and other things that you can do with the structured data is that you can also bring in links. So from a linked data point of view, you could be in a situation where if you're speaking into your search engine and you're, let's say you're looking for a pair of black Chelsea boots, for example, and it will bring back the stores that have the black Chelsea boots. If you've then got that linked into your store locator, it will then also be linking in to tell you that, it could do a lookup on your geolocation on your phone, tell you which stores are in that local area,
closest, which ones
have got
open.
You've also put in your size, so you can say, I want to put a pair of size 9. If you're using things like RFID, for example, which is another one of GS1 standards within the store. So these are things that are happening in the store as well as what can be happening online. So the structured data element of this starts to pull all that information across many, many different ways, whether it's purely online or whether it's in the physical world as well.
So it's pretty clear this structured data, product IDs, GTINs is going to be key across everything that we do for the future. And just to recap, Amazon and eBay are asking for these already. They're asking for a GTIN, which is the European Article Number or Universal Product Code. Slightly different standard. If it's for a book, it will be an ISBN, but a similar type of scheme.
And it comes from the same family. The ISBN comes from the same family.
And the website's also asking for the brand and the manufacturer's part number, which I guess additional confirmation to make sure this is the right product. And I guess that's really probably the first two things in the structured data that you'd want on your website is along with the GTIN, just confirm the brand, the part number, and then start going into the product details like the spin speed on the washing machines.
Yeah, so if you're selling clothing, for example, you're going to put in the size, you're going to put in the color. There are lots and lots of different attributes, and GS1 has a whole vocabulary that helps you fill in what those attributes are for your product. And the whole idea is that because we're a standards organization, we standardize this so that everybody is playing in the same level playing field. So there's no, there's no ambiguity. We know that when you're looking for a size small black t-shirt with a collar, you're going to find a small black t-shirt with a collar.
Perfect.
You're not going to find a blue one or a white one or a collarless one if you filled in your structured data correctly.
That's why the marketplaces are so keen on this structured data. But also we know Google have started requiring these GTINs for new in-stock product as well, where the manufacturers supply it. The marketplaces need to catalogue the product. So I think this is going to be, well, I don't think, I know this is going to be absolutely key for the future. It's already important. And if people want more information, where can they go to get it, Dave?
Well, they can come to gs1uk.org. There's a lot of information on our website. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that are selling products that already have GTINs anyway. You just might not be aware of that, or you might be having difficulty finding where the GTIN is with regards to that product. So if you come onto the website, there's a lot of information about how you can get set up to sell your products online, how to join GS1 if you're not members and you're wanting to allocate barcodes yourself. But more importantly, it's about making sure that you understand if you're selling products on behalf of another brand, that you know where to get that GTIN from and you can use that GTIN. I mean, GS1, as I said earlier on, we've been around a long time. In fact, it's over 40 years. GS1 transformed the way in which we shopped from a physical point of view, and now with the use of standards online, we're going to start to work into the e-commerce world and help consumers. And this is really what it comes down to. We want to help the sellers and the merchants sell more product and satisfy what the consumer is looking for. And that's the whole idea behind GS1 Smart Search.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be looking for any questions, but I'd like to thank you for your time, David, today. Feel free, if you're listening, if you've got further questions, to either email them to myself and I can forward them to David and get them answered for you, or we can get some blog posts written on Tamebay for them. Well, I don't think we've got any questions coming through today. David, are there any final things you'd like to add about this whole structured data and product identifiers, and looking forward to the future when we're starting to vocalize and to speak our commands to search engines and maybe not even see stuff on the screen? What's the one thing that a retailer really needs to be thinking about doing today to prepare for that future?
The main thing is to make sure that you're getting all your data correct, that when you're applying your GTINs, that you have all the product attributes correctly attributed to that GTIN. We are now seeing a situation where we're working very closely with a number of different marketplaces that are looking to validate the GTINs that are on that are actually on the marketplaces. So it's very, very important now that you start to collect all the information about your product in a structured way. You will only benefit from this as time moves on.
So we got some questions here. Now, one of the questions, I think it's quite a valid question. It's well known that GTINs bought from GS1 are expensive, and it's put sellers off. Will that change in the future? Have you got plans to support small businesses?
We do have a lot of plans to do that, and this is a subject that's come up a lot. I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, it's all relative. Joining GS1 is around about £350. That includes your joining fee, and for that you get 1,000 GTINs. So that's 1,000 numbers that you can allocate against your products. If you're a clothing manufacturer, a small clothing manufacturer, you're going to burn through those numbers quite quickly anyway. The whole point about GS1 is that it's a license, and that we're making sure and enabling the industry that the numbers are kept valid, so that they can be, so that they're always available.
So we've got a question from Raj. Can you send me a link to how he can register GTINs for the 4 brands that he's owned? Is that going to the GS1 website?
If he's got GTINs from GS1, he can go on to a place called My Number Bank. That's where he can actually run and get his numbers allocated to himself, and that's where we can start to take the information in.
And then someone's asking here about dirty data. How does Amazon deal with EANs where they'd say that they've seen cases where EANs match multiple products on Amazon, where obviously the data's not right, someone's put a GTIN in against a product that it doesn't apply to. What should someone do there?
Well, that's another really good question. So we're working very closely now with. We've seen the mandate from Amazon. You've seen these. We mentioned the Google mandate as well for listing new products. We are now working much more closely with the marketplaces to make sure that their catalogs have valid GTINs on them. You know, there's no getting away from it. You know, in the past there have been people just using a 13-digit number and getting it onto the system. And that is now causing problems as we go forward.
I've seen Amazon are cracking down on sort of fake numbers.
Yes, yeah. So
so they should be removed in time.
That I would imagine that's what's going to happen. So we're at the very early stages of this. Obviously, again, as I said before, we've had 40 years of using this numbering system throughout the whole supply chain, and now we're taking that into marketplaces. It's going to take us a little bit of time to do it, but the more and more that our members and the users of Amazon and eBay start to apply and use the GTINs where they're asked for them, the quicker and sooner we're going to be able to get the system working correctly.
So I've got one final question from someone called Robin. He's asking about the evolution of digital watermark barcodes and how structured data is gathered and used. I don't even know what a digital watermark barcode is.
Well, that's another really interesting question, Robin. So we've been doing some trials in America, which is probably where you're referring to. Listen, at the end of the day, you've got to identify the product, okay? And that's where you need the global trade item number. The way in which that product is or the information is carried, whether it's a digital watermark, whether it's on an EAN or a UPC, whether it's in an RFID tag, all of that is irrelevant if you haven't got a really strong and robust identification system. And it's the identification system that GS1 runs and operates on behalf of its members. And so we look at all the different ways in which that number can be carried, whether it's electronically, whether it's in a watermark, or whether it's in a physical barcode. So, it's what we need to start thinking about is the identifier. It's that product identifier. It's that number which is crucial to the developing world of identification.
And then I think we've got time for just one last question, which is coming from, I'm not sure it's pronounced Jano or Yano, but how would a price comparison site find which is the right GTIN number for a product? And he says the site he works for has got products which have got multiple GTINs from different sources, and he's got no idea how to find out which is the right number. So let's say I've got, say, my laptop, and I've got 3 different suppliers all telling me the laptop's got a different GTIN. How do I find which GTIN is the correct one so that I can make sure that's the one displayed to Google?
Okay, so if it's a brand issue, we have a system within GS1 where we can identify who the brand owner is. So if you've got multiple GTINs and you want to know who the brand owner is, I think that's what he's asking. Yeah, so if it's a registry of an entirety of numbers, we're not quite there yet.
Maybe that some of those numbers are someone's just made up a number, or someone's applied a second number when there was already one because they didn't know the brand had got them.
Yeah, so if you're a member of GS1, or even if you're not, we have a system called Gepia. Again, if you go onto the GS1 website, whichever country you're in, doesn't necessarily just have to be in GS1 UK, but there will be an area there where you can put the number into the system, and it will bring you back the brand owner and tell you whether or not it's a valid.
So you'll be able to find out if there is a valid GTIN, what it is.
Yes.
And then discount the others.
Yeah.
Okay, well, David, that's been really interesting. I'd like to thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you, Chris.
Really looking forward to what's going to happen in the next few years with e-commerce and what's going to happen when these Google Home devices, and I can't wait to get an Amazon device or a Google Home device for my house. But it's really fascinating to see behind the scenes how that these screenless devices are going to handle products, and why this structured data everyone is asking for is so important.
Yeah, and thank you very much everyone who's listening in. As Chris said, you've got his address there if you want to contact and get something sent on to me, or it's david.smith@gs1.org. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you, Chris, for giving the time to come and speak.
We will be getting a recording of this presentation made available. So anyone that wants to see it in the future, please just give us a shout, and it'll be on Tamebay TV in the very